What's up, guys? This is the Organic Guy, and welcome to Organic Adventures, where we are all about ensuring that you are experiencing that particular organic magic. Of course, when you see this face, you know that we are out yet on another adventure, and this time we are all the way to Juja, where we are about to meet a very, very important person in the organic sector. It's a person who has seen it all, experienced it all, and is going to share to us this particular experience. It's that one of those experiences that will help you expound and have a feel really of how the organic sector has been developing, particularly in Kenya. So he's one of the pioneers of this particular industry, and it's a very, very important conversation that I'm very sure that you are going to enjoy. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we are at the KIOF, Kenya Institute of Organic Farming, and we're here to talk to the very one, Mr. Njoroge, who is one of the founders of this particular institution. It's an institution that is really specializing on empowering people with knowledge on organic farming so that they can go out there and actually practice it. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's go and have and experience this particular organic magic.
Organic beauty, organic dressing, organic organic
is the way to go.
Because you have to have a fertilizer for growing the crop.
Yeah.
That fertilizer has to be natural, has to be decomposed.
Yeah.
You're using the normal, natural way where microorganisms decompose the lettuce or the crop residues or plant residues and so forth.
Yeah.
In this case, if a farmer has both animals and crops, then he harvests the fodder and gives it to the animals. The animals produce manure, and then you compost the manure here. Luckily, we have been a Juja slaughterhouse here. So we go there, we collect some of the manure they have there, and the Maasais are good neighbors here. So their animals also produce a lot of manure. We collect that, we bring it here, and we compost it. We compost like this one we have. It's almost fully cooked, you know?
Okay. Yeah.
It's almost fully cooked. It's ready now to go to the field. This one.
How do you know when it's ready?
We have a stick.
Time frame.
We have a stick here which is sticking to the. We have a stick which we put into the composter immediately after, and then we can monitor. That one. The time also, we give it about 3 to 4 weeks for it to decompose, and we water regularly. And in that way, the compost completely decomposes into very good compost.
Yeah.
But originally, it is the crop leftovers, weeds, animal manure, and whatever. And that is what we bring in and we put. So we had brought in about 3 lorry loads of manure from the slaughterhouse, and here we have been processing it, and you can see it's important to turn that compost. So we put it here, we turn it over here, we turn it over here, and by the time you have the final turning, it is ready.
So how is
go to the market.
For a challenge? Because it's told that it's important that also the manure that you use is from an organic source, meaning animals are raised in an organic.
Not necessarily, because nature takes care of itself in a great way. Within the microorganism that are found in the soil or in the manure or in the animal's body, they are able to digest some of those chemicals that may have grown together with the crop or something like that. Of course, you have to make a restriction because sometimes if you are continuously using fodder that has become grown with the chemicals or anything like that, then it may be difficult for those organisms. But eventually, all this manure is subjected to natural processes, and the dangers of pesticides or other chemicals is reduced to a great extent when you decompose the manure. Okay. So that is not a big problem. Okay. Yeah. Sometimes for purposes of top dressing the crop, we put the green vegetation and other things into a small can like this one, and we let it decompose
by itself.
Because if you put it in water, with water in it, then it will decompose and eventually produce what you call a liquid manure or a plant tea, or something that you can now water the decomposing plant. Let's go and have a look at that. Get the best effect of the cropping system. We train on about 5 techniques of tilling the land. Okay. Because what we emphasize is that the topsoil that grows the crop has to be fairly deep and also well fertilized with organic matter. The organic matter, of course, will come from the compost. Then you see how are you going to incorporate that organic matter into the ground. So we use about 5 techniques. Okay. The first one is what we call laced bed. A laced bed. And this laced bed, you dig it deeply by first digging the topsoil and putting it aside, and then digging the subsoil in order to increase the depth. And then adding more organic matter down there, and then bringing back the topsoil and adding more organic matter in form of compost. And that, raising up the volume of the soil, it forms a bed, a raised bed. And the soil becomes very loose. To avoid compaction, then we create a path between beds, so that the farmer learns to use the paths in his garden instead of stepping everywhere. Because a lot of farmers actually damage their soil by compacting it all the time. So that is the first one. Sometimes because you dig both the topsoil and the subsoil, we call it double digging. But the important thing is that it is a raised bed that results from there. It is very good for high rainfall areas or medium rainfall areas. In low rainfall areas, you may be raising the soil and exposing it to dryness. So we create what we call sunken bed. We dig the topsoil, we put it aside and mix compost with it. Then we dig the subsoil and remove it, put it on the other side. And then return the topsoil together with the compost into that, and that creates a sunken bed. And in that sunken bed, then you can be able to grow your crop. What happens is from the surrounding area, water will flow into the bed because it is sunken. The level is lower. So in that way, then you get more moisture in the bed than because all the water that flows on the side will flow into the bed. So in that case, then you have a better fertilized and watered growing zone of the crop.
Okay.
Another method that we use is what we call for instance, that's a nice one, that one there, a nice sunken bed. You can see it has it's about 1 meter in width, and so it's the same about 1 meter in wide in raised bed. We can also create what we call planting holes. Many crops are planted in holes. Banana, yams, and many holes. So you can create a hole about 1/2 meter in diameter and 1/2 meter deep. And then you add the soil, you add compost in it, and you you put in a lot of organic material there. The excess soil, you can put it on the side. And then when it comes to planting, you plant on, you first you mark the where the hole has reached. For instance, this mark where the hole was. This one, where you had reached, it's about 1/2 meter, in diameter, like this. So this, then you put sticks to mark the edge. And when you come to planting, you actually plant along this, along these sticks. They help you to mark where you are going to plant. The roots of this will meet at the center or at the inside the well fertilized compost. So you get a crop growing together. And if there are any weeds on the side, you continue to add them into the center, where they also continue to rot, and so forth. So in that way, it is called a basket planting or a basket compost, because these sticks we tie them together to form a basket, and in that basket, that is where you will be putting all your weeds and other compost and so forth. So that is another technique which we use, and it works very well. From one basket to the next one, it can be 1 meter.
Okay.
It can be 1 meter. This particular one is straight the wider, but it should be about 1 meter. That distance of the meter helps for air circulation and sunshine and things like that, and therefore you find the crop grows very well. Then we have another technique here. This technique, we call it Zai pit.
Okay.
Again, it's a pit half a meter by 1/2 meter, but we try to make it a square. And we dig in the same way like we dug the basket. And we mix the topsoil again with manure, with compost, and we plant at the inside. Inside we plant at each corner, and at the center, and at each center. So which means then we can have 3 rows of crop, 3 plants in each row, meaning it's a 9 plant crop which is growing here. 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Some people put 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Others put even more. Depending on the size of that crop. Now the good thing with this one is that when the rains come, this soil, and because of the organic material, when it rots, the bed sinks. This thing sinks in. So you create a low ground here, and again you have the advantage of water entering, into this this place. And then you always leave it well covered, like you have seen. You leave it all well covered. You can see this soil has been well manured. You know, has quite a bit of manure. And therefore, when you plant now and put a mulch on it, then that crop will also receive the nutrients. So that's another technique we do. Those pits, which you call zai pits, those pits, we join them together to form a trench. To form now a trench. And we put sticks at each edge there, at the edges of the, again to show the meaning. So you have sticks running on this side and on this side, you know? And when you come to plant, the middle plants are not there. You only plant one line on this side and another line of crop on this side. And both set their roots to the center, you see, to the center of this, you know. So you find that the crop does well. You know, in those small, in those lines, with very short spacing between them. But from one line to the next one, we put a meter. You know? A meter from one line. This is the one line. This is another line. We put a meter in between. Again, to help in circulation of air and also in sunshine. You know, and so forth. This one we call it a fertility trench.
Fertility trench.
Yeah, fertility trench, because here it is more fertile than any other. This trench is more fertile. You find than any other, so the crop would do well.
So what will you say is the difference between this and the sunken? The difference is the sunken is wider. It's a bed wider, and therefore you can plant in crops in between. In that 1 meter wide, you can plant 2 other lines inside. Whereas this one, you only plant, because it is narrower, you only plant on the one edge and the other edge. You understand? Also with the material, if you run short of compost, for instance, you can cut your crops, that material, make a small compost in between, and plant on the edge. So here you can see the difference between the two. You know, this is a sunken bed, that was a trench, a raised bed over there, there's another raised bed. You know, so you can see and you can see the trench, the zai pits over there. So in that way, then you get a certain way it is easy. Maybe you can see it more clearly also over there. So would you then argue the raised beds are better for things like vegetables?
Yes, very good, very well. In fact, all of them are good for any type of crop. Although with the intensity of fertilization that you have put, you know, then you would rather put crops that can easily bring value, you know, or grow quickly. Not those which take so long before. So vegetables are very good for this. We also find maize doing very, very well. Herbs also do well, and so forth. Now, an important thing that we emphasize, let me stand here. An important thing that we really emphasize is mulching. Mulching. You know, you are dealing with the soil that has organisms in it. microorganisms that help the soil and that are also involved in the decomposition. And those are the soil those are the microorganisms that work side by side with the crop.
Yes.
You know, in a symbiotic way. So in that way, then you want to protect your crop, your microorganisms, so that they are not dried out and killed by the heat of the sun, or they don't go too deep into the soil. So in that way, then as soon as we do these techniques, we try to make sure that the mulching is done using dry grass. You get a good mulch cover, and as you can see, there are a lot of mulching that we have applied to make sure that any soil that you dig up, you open up for evaporation. And when it dries up, then your microorganisms are lost.
Yeah, true.
Including also earthworms, which are very beneficial to the soil. So in that way, then it is.
And then when we're talking about mulching, I also see farmers use plastic mulch. What's the main difference between?
No, plastic mulching is not good. First, plastic will tear out and remain there, and will not decompose, will not rot.
Yeah.
One advantage of mulching like this one is sooner or later it will also become part of the organic matter that is needed by the soil and by the roots, by the crop.
Yeah.
But if you use plastic, I'm afraid here there is a bit of plastic here. You see, this plastic, although it may be a bit torn, you see, it cannot become organic material that will help the crop. 50 years will remain before this can
fully decompose.
Can be found, can disappear in the soil, but it will still be there in small buds. So what we do is we encourage the farmers to remove plastic, both from their gardens and also from the compost material, so that you are not using any compost. You are not using any plastic material. And not only plastic, but other material which don't decompose. For instance, grass, metal, very hard wood like timber, and so forth. So we don't encourage it. Those things which don't decompose easily, it is better not to use them. Tires, which are going to waste and are not very useful. But if some of these old tires can be filled up with well-composted soil, they can also become a planting medium, a growing medium. So like this one, it's of course best to cut it here, along here, so that you have only to create more space. But the idea is that you make compost and mix it well with the soil, then plant your crop in this container. And this is quite possible in urban areas where people don't have much land. They only have a veranda or a backyard. But by containing it nicely with an old tire, an old bucket, an old sack or something like that, you can create a planting place for your herbs, your onions, small vegetables, sukuma wiki, and things like that. We have some animals. They have gone out to graze now. Cattle, goats. We had pigs here. but we have sold them out. But what happens here is the animals take in fodder or leftovers from the garden.
Yes.
And normally there's a lot, you know.
Yeah.
When you harvest, there's always the peelings and what have you. So that becomes fodder for the crop.
Yeah.
That fodder, the animals produce manure. Then eventually you clean up your animal yard, and you create manure. Yeah. This manure is not good to take it directly to the garden, because when you take it to the garden, that's when now it starts decomposing. It creates heat, and the heat can, delay the processing of the seed or even burn the seed. You understand? Yeah. But if you take this one and you take it to the compost, which we saw there, then already you prepare it to be a very good material that is good for you can use for your planting. For your planting. These are part of the seedlings that we are going to use. We have kales, we have spinach, we have onions, we have nightshade. We have amanandas on that side. So at least we have
getting ready to
transplant with this one is an avocado tree nursery. Yeah. Plus some passion fruit over there. Of course, it has been hit again a little bit by the hot sun. Yeah. But it will come through, and then we will be able to transplant this into a better yard, or even share it with other farmers who are interested. Yeah, it has some of it has to be grafted. In order to change the variety, like people like a better variety than the other, so you graft ocean. Yeah. And the idea is you raise it up to about 10 feet using the poles. Yeah. Then in between you plant your seedling. Yeah. You allow limited number of stems to go up. In this case, we are allowing 3. And then when it reaches there, one goes this direction, and another one goes direction until they meet with the one on the other side. And one can also go across. You put another layer here, go across. So in the end, you will have, and then when it reaches there, when it produces suckers or branches, you let them come down, come down without twisting it onto the others. Yeah. So then you have like cuttings, something like that. Wow. So in that way, then you have a good crop of passion fruit.
So it normally takes a few years for it to...
Yeah, once continue. It is well established, it can go on for the next 3-4 years. Yeah. You'll just be adding more compost on it. And then that's it. That's how it goes. So our biggest problem here with at KIOF is water, because this area, this Juja area, is where they mine a lot of stones. We tried with a borehole, but soon it dried because in a very nearby area they sank a water, a quale, where they remove cut stone. Okay. So that created room for our water to disappear, and that, of course, was not possible. So what we do is we harvest runoff from the service, and we removed the black cotton soil which was here, and we came to the level of the stone, This formed the embankment for capturing the water.
Yeah.
And we have been having very good water. Like last year, when we got those very heavy rains in April, May last year, that water has been here since that time, up to about 2 or 3 weeks ago, when this water disappeared.
So just from the run of water?
Just run of water. Just run of water. You know, after reaching here, it then clears.
Yeah.
You know, it becomes a nice lake of very clean water.
Yeah.
Of course, when we use the water for irrigation or other purposes, or when we give to the livestock, if we use it domestically, of course, we add, either chlorine or something like that, to clean it up completely and make it but it is good water.
Yeah.
It can be used, and it has
Very
so far
effective.
very effective. What we would recommend is that farmers, if they are on a sloping land, they try to create a small pond and divert the run of water from the roads into their pond, so they can be able to store that water, to harvest that water and retain it for at least 2 months, 3 months more than when from the time the rains disappear, and in that way they benefit from the water, because they can irrigate it and they can use it for livestock. But here we thought maybe if we go deeper than the rock, see that was the head of the rock. If we create a room in then we can be able to store more water. We can be able to farm our ground. Not knowing that these stones have cracks. They are all like slabs laid on top of each other. So what happens is when the harvested water came in 3 weeks' time it has disappeared. Because if it goes through, you can see we tried putting some concrete, cement, to seal off those cracks, but that did not help. So we still lose water here.
So
even in this dam, when it overflew, it overflowed, we brought the water here, and it covered even up to this stone level. Everything was covered. But in 3 weeks' time, this was gone. This water was gone. Only a small amount had remained there. You see? Because of all these cracks that you find here. So you can see the top lock is quite solid. So that one does not allow water to disappear at all. But the moment you cut through it, then you open up the crack. People have been suggesting maybe the best thing we should do is maybe put a wall, which we can
at least to minimize the loss of water.
But with a new idea, probably
it seems to work better.
This is a bee kiosk. Can you see bees going in and out? We've just harvested the honey. In fact, in my office you'll see some of the honey. And we harvested from about 6 beehives inside here. The idea is you make a kiosk like this one, then you put a beehive directly against that cut on the side. Can you see the cut on the side? Then the bees will come through that cut. In fact, there is one already there. There's one of the cuts is allowing in bees. And it goes directly into the hive. And when it comes out to go and look for nectar, it comes out of its hole and off it goes into there. There is one here. You see, so this is, and then you seal it up against animals,
So how
honey badgers and what have you, or against the thieves who might come,
come on still?
you know. And you concentrate your honey because like on this side you can put 6 and on the other side you put 6 and you have a door in between.
So how are you able to attract those bees?
No, once you put the beehive there, this Kenya top hive or the Langstroth hive, you smell a little bit of honey in it. You're able to smell it and to
So naturally they'll attract. They'll just come.
they will be attracted. But you can also use what they call a catcher box. You know, a small hive with only maybe 2 or 3, cops in it. You put it at a place where you normally see swarms of bees passing through, and then out of that you'll be able to get honey getting in.
Organic beauty, organic dressing, organic, organic,
Organic
everything,
is the
baby.
way to